Sean, come on in, brother.
Wow, thanks, Eric. That was that was a wonderful introduction. Um, really appreciate you for asking me. Yeah, happy Easter to everybody, and yeah, I'm glad to be here with you guys. And I was thinking about that little flyer you made, Eric. And I was thinking about it like how cool it is to have a home group. And my sponsor Pat, this man is very near and dear to me. Gave me that little handle Seany Boy, and it stuck. And so I mean, even people, I met Natalie from New York, and she was like Seany Boy and this and that. So I mean, it feels good to belong somewhere, to have a home group, and you got the Big Book Awakening on Wednesday night as my home group, and it is, it's where I this journey really started for me. I'll tell you that I've been coming around AA and started going to treatment when I was about 23 years old. And um Yeah, I was already a big mess then. I started I guess I would say, I don't know, I guess it's kind of normal. We all seem to start drinking and having problems and at a young age. And I mean, for me it was I started drinking alcoholically from the gate. I didn't seem to have control from the very beginning. I know the first time I drank, I blacked out. And you know, I wasn't even I think in the ninth or 10th grade. Back then we had driver's ed training in high school. And so that was cool. And I mean, I have my license. I remember I was getting my license. I already had a wet reckless in the 10th grade, for I had got my license. I had it suspended before I even really fully had it. I just had the learner's permit, and yeah, I was already drinking and driving. And you know, um, let's see, where am I gonna go? I'm just gonna tell you, like how um how off the hook I was a little bit. So and sometimes I realized, like, I don't want people to think like, oh, I'm not as bad as him, so maybe I'm not an alcoholic. I mean, the main thing I can say is that, once I start drinking, I just don't stop. I can't. It's like, and for me, most of my story is like I would get stopped by the police. And so they basically saved me a lot of different times. And because I know I needed to be stopped, and I just couldn't. So yeah, I've you know I started going to treatment at 23. Like, about the first time I had caught a case or something, I got in a fight with somebody, and it went bad. And the way it went down was, the guy kicked my vehicle. We got in a fight, and I took his money, and they gave me a strong. I thought it was all like perfectly fine. Like, that's what he got for kicking my vehicle, right? So, and the way the police saw it, as they called it a strong arm robbery and gave me a year in jail, right? And I was like, damn, that's ridiculous, But anyway, that started me going to jail. And um, you know, it kind of, at that time, my parents had got divorced. And my mom was an alcoholic, and my sister was a heroin addict, and my dad worked for the San Francisco Police Department, and it was like, um, it was, yeah, it was kind of a messy growing up. And I ended up homeless at a young age too. My dad went one way, my mom went another, and my sister, she started going in and out of prison. And that's kind of like what my family was like. And So I mean, I had no idea. I mean, the first time I was sitting in that jail for those that year, I reached out to my dad. I was like, "Can you put some money on my books or something?" And he was like, "Well, what do you want to do about your problem?" And he goes, "I can get you out if you want to go to rehab." And I was already 6 months into this sentence, and I didn't really I just wanted to finish and be done, but I really wanted out too. So it was like I took him up on it. I went to rehab, and I was after 30 days at the rehab, I just thought it was ridiculous. And I was kicked out for being late to dinner serve after 30 days. I was at a 6 month treatment center. I was kicked out after 30 days, and that same night I was kicked out, I went and drank, and I ended up back in the drunk tank. And that's what they did with when they would find people. The police would find people drunk, and they throw them in the drunk tank. And they were supposed to keep me, but they didn't. And at that time, I had a probation officer that was, he wanted to help me. He wanted to help me get this, and he sent me to another treatment center that was 18 months. I ended up staying there 18 months, and I it was like more behavior modification than it was, it wasn't 12-step based, and it was all about willpower, right? It was all about me wanting to, um, at that time, I didn't know if I was an alcoholic, if was I a crackhead, I don't know. I mean, at that time, had a problem with crack and as well, and I didn't think I could be both, and you know, I just thought, I didn't know. Well, whatever I thought, it was a problem, and it didn't work out. Um, because eventually I left that treatment center, and I only got so far on my own will. The big book talks about we are unable to stop drinking on the basis of self-knowledge. This is a point we wish to emphasize and re-emphasize, to smash home upon the alcoholic reader as it has been revealed to us out of bitter experience. I have a lot of bitter experience. I got to a very desperate place, because the pattern went on for me for, approximately 25 years of in and out to treatment centers and in and out of jail, and being homeless. And, so being desperate, being really desperate, and near death was very important for me. I mean, because I'm a knucklehead, right? I'm gonna try everything until I'm like, fine. I thought I had given up a few times, but I was just every time I came out of treatment out or something, treatment center, I would just be like, okay, the goal is to get a job and get money, and that's gonna make me happy. That's what I thought always. Like the key to life was to have a good job, make lots of money, have a pretty girlfriend, have some toys, and then life's going to be great. And I that was so not true at all. And I that's why I'm so grateful to Pat and Tyler, and these those are two of my heroes that I have met, and like totally changed the way I go through. Like they've took gone through. I've gone through the book with Pat specifically, but I do like when Tyler runs the meetings and Pat and Tyler run the meetings. It's like all about the big book and people's experience with God, and exactly like what Eric was talking about, like about this meeting's purpose is, what's in this book, and going through the 12 steps and developing a relationship with God. And you know I mean, I I don't know, somewhere along the lines I thought maybe a belief in God was, what they were talking about. I never understood this book until I met Pat. I really didn't. I had no idea what it really was saying. And, that's why I'm so grateful to him. because he got me into this relationship with God, which has absolutely changed my life. You know, um, yeah. So, I mean, if I was to fast forward up to, I guess I was 47 years old. I'm 52 now, getting close to 53, and um, so I came out. I went to my 16th treatment center at age 47, and I just wanted to catch my breath. I knew I was going to die. That's why when I was talking about this desperation, this whole thing of life and death changed everything to me for me too. Like looking at this, like I'm about to die. Like I've tried everything I could possibly do. I keep failing and failing, and years and decades have gone by, and I'm still failing at this. Why is some people look like they're getting this and I'm not? Well, that's when I'd say God intervened and led me to this workshop that Pat was doing. Just taking, he was taking like I think it was either nine people, I think, through the big book at the same time on Zoom. And I remember I was gonna go drink, and this guy was like, "Hey man, you should come check this guy out," because he was going back for a second round of Pat going through the book, and he was like, "Man, this guy's gonna blow your mind." And I was like, "Well, I've heard it all before," kind of like I didn't not really a fan of Zoom at the time, and I was like, you know what? I ain't got nothing to lose. If I'm gonna go drink, then and I'm so glad that at that moment I had the willingness to be part of this, be part of that workshop, because going through this book, he just brought it to life for me, and a lot of things that I missed for all of those 25 years of just trying to do this on my willpower. Everything changed. I started to understand, that the mental obsession will win over willpower every time. I started to hear things that I'd never heard before. I would hear Tyler talk about untreated alcoholism, and I would go like, I was like, tell me more, because this is how I can stop, but I can't stay stopped, right? And and then I started realizing, like, and these, well, when they talked about the bedevilments is something that I was clueless to, um, and I started to realize, like, this is how I'm showing up sober in life, and I'm struggling in all these areas, right? All of the areas. Like all my personal relationships are a disaster. My emotional natures, I didn't even know what that meant. It's like how I'm feeling inside is going, like, I mean, I can't control it, and I'm putting on a fake mask to let everybody think I'm okay, but inside I'm dying. This misery and depression, um I would say to myself, yeah, after a while, I didn't get sober to be miserable. Screw it. I'll just roll the dice. I mean, I know something bad's going to happen. I knew something bad was going to happen, because there was no illusion at that point. It was like, maybe I'll control it this time. No, that was gone. It was going to be something bad. There was going to be consequences. I just didn't care, because I didn't want to feel the way I was feeling. I couldn't make a living. Yeah, I couldn't make a living. I couldn't keep a job. Man, I must have lost 100 jobs. I mean, that might be a little bit of an exaggeration. I'd say probably from a paper route as a young kid, you know, all the way up. I mean, I used to deliver papers when I was young. I used to work at the Safeway. I worked at the Cliff House restaurant, the Mel's Drive-In, the gas station pumping gas. Every single job I've had as a young kid, I lost because of drinking. And it continued even when I landed. I landed at the sheet metal workers union, and that was a job I wanted to keep, right? It was like the best thing that could happen for somebody like me. I mean, it paid a decent wage, and somebody with my background, I mean, no city jobs were going to take me. I mean, I used to have my heart set on being a fireman, but that was out. That was out before I even turned 21. They aren't going to take anybody with a domestic violence or you know, um, I have a total of probably 8 different DUIs, and I just I'm saying today I'm grateful to have my license. I never thought I would have my license again, but so these bedevilments, when I started to think about this is sober, and because I don't think I really got the first part of step one either. Like my life is unmanageable. I really thought my life is unmanageable while I was drinking, and that's obvious, right? I mean, I can't. It's a disaster when I'm drinking, and I nobody wants to be around me. I mean, I've isolated myself to where I'm just definitely the lone wolf. I am. I am. In Bill's story, when they talk about, um, let's see, the fellow that's been puzzling you. Yeah, that's me. That's me for sure. Or wait, what page is that? Uh, Bill's, no, yeah, the fellow that's been puzzling you, does absurd, incredible, tragic things while drinking. He's a Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde. That's me all day. Like, I mean, I transform. Yeah, I'm going to be, it says, I am seldom mildly intoxicated. He is more or less insanely drunk. That's me all the time. There's no control. Um, so I start recognizing that self-knowledge isn't going to do this for me. I mean, in the doctor's opinion, it talks about, the psychic change. Um, that we need something more than a psychic change. It says something more than human power is needed to produce the essential psychic change. So these things are starting to go in my head, and I'm starting to like think that I need this relationship with God. The Dr. Young talks about the nature of huge emotional displacements and rearrangements, for the vital spiritual experience. And that was something I was like, well, how does that happen? How am I going to do this? Well, that's from working the steps and developing a relationship with God. And what happened for me is exactly how he described it. And I love the way he describes this. Ideas, emotions, and attitudes, which were once the guiding forces of the lives of these men, are suddenly cast to one side. That means everything to me that I grew up believing, I'm gonna get rid of all of these thoughts. And then it talks about that same thing, destruction of self-centeredness. Talks about that on page 14, and a completely new set. Um, of conceptions and motives begin to dominate them. Well, I mean, that's what's happened for me from doing the steps and starting to practice prayer and meditation. That was huge for me to start beginning. Well, let me say this: going through the step work, I started to recognize how much fear I was in, and how I was trying to control my life on my power, like, and how all of that stuff was bothering me, right? Like, I mean, and when it talks about the actor wanting to direct, and I had my plans and designs, all these different things, and I would, nothing would happen the way I thought it should, or at the time I thought it should. The outcome wasn't what I wanted to happen. And then I would get, frustrated, disappointed, and I'd be upset. And the next thing you know, I'd be drinking again or doing drugs. And that's just, it's been my experience. So being willing for me was huge. in the spiritual appendix when it talks about contempt prior to investigation or being stuck in everlasting ignorance. That's because I wouldn't try something and I just thought that it's not going to work for me. It's not going to work for me. So the transformation has been that, okay, let me be willing to believe like that this is going to work for me too. And it's hard. That's why I feel so blessed that God intervened in my life, because it's hard not to, when Pat takes you through the book, it's hard not to believe that God's not going to show up in your life, man. I mean, I just wanted to believe it. I was like, even though I was skeptical at first and I was like, I don't know. And then I just went along for the ride and did the work. And next thing you know, God is my newfound friend, right? I'm like, oh my God, like, well, this is amazing. I was always stressed and worrying and trying to control, and I don't have to, because now I have faith in my newfound friend, right? The director, the father, I mean, I don't even have to, I have a whole new attitude when I go to work now. Everyone that bothered me at my job, like they don't bother me so much anymore because I don't work. I'm not really tripping. I work with him now. God is that's the one. I'm not tripping on the superintendent and the foreman and these guys that are like, I used to like want to fight after. I mean, we would get engaged, and there was a few times where I was like, I put my job on the line for this, and because I wanted to control things, I wasn't going to be talked to a certain way, and it's just like, all that pride and stuff, and just, I mean, I would take things personal. Yeah, I mean, going through the step work, Pat brought up a couple of words like being oversensitive and taking things too personal. And I really had to take a look at that and take and Tyler would be like, take it to meditation. Well, what does that mean? So I would take it, I'd go sit in the park. I would take this to meditation. What does that mean to be oversensitive all the time, and how I would react? And I started thinking, like, damn, I kind of react like a little kid that's not getting his way, and things just, I mean, I was able to start connecting dots, man, and realize I was able to see on my own, on Sean's power, self-reliance, every time it was a failure. Every time I had, when you do some fact finding and fact facing and you're looking at stuff on paper, I mean, it's great to be able to see, like, you can't argue with it. I couldn't argue with it. Like, I was like, damn. And it was so clear to me that, doing my fifth step and realizing that because I went into the fourth step, I was like, full of hate and anger. I had a few people that I would never, I just, you know, I never thought by the time I got to nine that I would be making amends to them for my part. Never did I think that. And now, how much freedom I got from that. It was just amazing. My experience with some of these amends that I made, like my son's mother, I didn't think I would ever, be saying, I'm sorry for not showing up and thank you for being there for my son, and you know, um, whatever I owe you, I'm gonna pay you and make it right. And that, by me making that amends, it changed everything. It changed how my son looked at me, and I could see his face because he was there when I made that mess, and if you could have seen the look on his face when he heard that, that alone was well worth it. But to hear how she was so happy to see that I had changed and was stepping up and being accountable, and this, it changed our whole relationship, and we didn't get along for almost since he was born. So yeah, the steps have did nothing but help change my life and help me realize like how much I needed God. And I'll jump over to like some other pages that were super important to me in this book. Um, you know, our page 62, when it says selfishness and self-centered, that we think is the root of our troubles, driven by 100 forms of fear. See, I never knew I was in fear until I did this step work. Self-delusion, self-seeking, and self-pity. I wouldn't have told you if you asked me if I was selfish or self-centered before I did this step work, I would say, nope, I'm a nice guy, man. I'll help you. I'll give you the shirt off my back. Right. But when it came to spending time with my son or doing other things for other people, or, I mean, um, I started to notice like how selfish I was with my time and how everything self-centered. I thought, just like everything was about me and how the outcome was going to be for me. Even though I really didn't believe that I was like a self-centered person, I really didn't understand really what it meant, you know. But self-pity too. I mean, a whole lot of poor me's, I mean, I just thought, a lot of time I didn't get sober because of self-pity. I just thought I had burned my life to the ground so many times. What is the point? What is the point? I came here, I was living in my truck. I was like, and I was kind of just fine with it. I kind of saw it as like an adventure, but then it was like, I mean, it was, I look back on it now and I think how pathetic that was, and what was my son seeing, that was huge. That was huge for me to recognize, like step up and be a dad to him, and yeah. So I mean, this gets my attention in the book when it says above everything, uh, we alcoholics must be rid of selfishness. We must, or it kills us. And God makes that possible. When the book is talking about it killing us, and the solution is God makes that possible, these things I like really started to resonate with me. So I really started getting interested in this prayer and meditation, and like the a huge thing that for me was to go from a belief in to a relationship with, because I had never heard that before until I got to this Big Book Awakening. I never heard anybody say that before. A relationship with, I mean, because obviously I wasn't smart enough to read this book and figure it out by myself. There was just no way. I read it, went to big book studies a lot of times, never got what I got at a sitting through this 25-week big book study that I committed to, and um so I just want to say also that on page 66, when it talks about we found that it is fatal. There it is again. I mean, I love this book. I believe this book 100%. I believe it's a masterpiece. I believe it's written for all of us alcoholics and drug addicts. I mean, um, but when it talks about it is fatal, man, I'm right here and I'm paying full attention 100%. And it says, harboring such feelings, I shut myself off from the sunlight of the spirit. The insanity of alcohol returns and we drink again. And with us is to drink is to die. That is my truth. It's truth. And, and these resentments. So this selfishness, this resentment, this self-pity, self-centered, all this fear, all of these things I'm realizing from doing this step work and going through this book, and I'm realizing like, there's no way I can get rid of this stuff on my own power. There's no way. I just can't do it. I need God. I need a God. I need somebody to turn to. So these were moments as I'm going through the work and going through the book where things started to change for me. Um, yeah, what am I like on time here, Eric? I guess.
You're
uh,
good, baby. You got about another 10 minutes.
Okay, so cool. Um, so being willing, Dr. Bob talks about in the forewords, like being willing to do what? I mean, we'll go to any lengths, but what does that mean, right? Dr. Bob talks says to pursue, excuse me, to pursue the spiritual remedy for his malady with the willingness he had never before been able to muster. So that's what I'm doing, man. I'm trying to pursue the spiritual remedy for my malady, That means the devil, whatever you want to call it, that all these thoughts, these things, these fears, these resentments, all of this stuff that is keeping me blocked off from people in my life, from just everything. So I'm willing to do these steps. I'm willing to start these practices, right? I'm willing to start um the like I said, the prayer and meditation was huge. I would go through the park on my bicycle and I would start to feel so connected to God, and I would start looking at everything differently, and everything that used to overwhelm me and bother me, and me thinking there was no hope in my life, all of this stuff started to change. And so, and something that helped me a lot to think, where I thought, what is God gonna look like for me? And I found this piece of paper I wrote down, like this was years ago. All of a sudden I was looking for something and I found it. And what I had wrote down was the four absolutes of AA were considered yardsticks in the earliest days of the recovery program. Standards for determining appropriate behavior as measured through God's eyes. The four absolutes are honesty, purity, unselfishness, and love. And I mean, when I think about God being that, and I want to grow towards that, it was like, and God is with me now 24/7. It wasn't something that I would try to tap into anymore when things were getting rough. It is now God is with me all the time, and this is what I'm driven towards. I'm now driven towards trying to be like this. And I'm also convinced that I'm a real alcoholic, that I must do this program the way it's designed, right? So um if it's doing that, then I'm going to start being willing to help others. I never thought I could be willing to help. I mean, I never thought I could help others because one time somebody said to me, "Yeah, you can't give away something you don't got." And I know now that that's on page 164, right? But I never knew, and I thought to my, I just ran with it. Yeah, I don't got it. I don't know how to help somebody, right? Like, well, Pat changed that for me. He's like, "Yeah, you're gonna be in this to win it, and you're gonna start sponsoring." And and I understand now. It's not like it's a huge part of the triangle is that, we help others, and A explained to me, like, yeah, service to the fellowship and service to helping others. It's two different things. So don't get it twisted. You will be taking other men through these 12 steps and helping them. And so you can see them transform, and it's going to be amazing. And, everything that the book talks about, so I've been, yeah, I mean, this time it's been totally different. My sobriety date is June 25th of 2019. So that means, like, if I'm coming close to 6 years. It's 5 years, 10 months, something like that. But, it's like, it's not, to me, it's like this time beats any other time that I've tried to be sober before. Like from 2001 to 2006, I stayed sober just on trying to keep a job, but I was so miserable. And the quality of my sobriety this time is like it's like night and day. You can't even compare it. I mean, because now that I have this reliance upon God, it's just it's totally different. My life has totally changed. I'll just tell you, some of I've had kind of like a rough year, I guess. I mean, I had went out with this girl for a long time, and probably 14 years or something, and she couldn't stop using. And this last Valentine's Day, we just say, I said I have to go, and so that was a huge step for me to walk with God. To leave a relationship I've been in a long time, and trust in God that everything was going to be all right, because I had, financial fear. I had, being alone fear. I was like, but it got to a point to where I was just like, I need to go, and before I end up in jail, because we're a tornado. She was a tornado, and I still, even though I got God, sometimes my reaction is not, I still have to go back into making amends, and I was making a lot of amends because I didn't like being lied to all the time. I don't like being cheated on. I don't like different things. And sometimes it's just, but this time I was able to pack my stuff up and walk away and let go with love and as the best I could. And I wish the best for her, I've also, like last year in June 4th, I had a blood clot in my brain and I had a stroke, and I thought that was it for me. Like I went down, I got off work and I was walking to my truck and I just went down. And man, it was like I was I was looking for God. I was like, where you at? Like I knew he was. I just thought I was dead, and then next thing I've been going through this recovery process, and it's been challenging, but God's been walking through me with me through all of this difficult stuff, and I just think that it's not even a hard thing to do when I'm walking with God. And I got these wonderful people around me too that are just like always encouraging me and telling me it's no, we're gonna get through this. God got something great planned for me. And I mean, the people that are in my life and the relationship that I have with God today has changed everything for me. I feel like I can get through anything. I mean, I'm not scared of the how does they say that, here, tomorrow, and the here, or the hereafter, the past, the now, or the hereafter. I'm not scared. I've got this relationship with God that's just everything. And this love and tolerance, I mean, that's huge too. I'll probably end there, but I never knew I on my own. I could only get so far with love and tolerance, and the ability to cease fighting. I couldn't. Those two things were huge for me. I never even knew the book talked about love and tolerance, right? Like, but on my power, I could only do so much. But now it's totally different how I could love somebody or show love or even fall back and not say nothing, just keep my mouth shut when I didn't have that ability before. I really didn't. And God makes that possible. He did for me. He did for me. And this whole and the other huge thing is that I don't sit around thinking about alcohol and drugs anymore, man. I have the obsession. The obsession has been removed, and it's been a miracle. And I don't know, I don't know how it's happened, but it did. And I'm so grateful that I'm not sitting around thinking or envious of people when I see them drinking. A lot of times they'll I'm in San Francisco. Well, actually, I'm not right at this moment, but I was majority of my life, right? And they'll have concerts in the park, and the beach would be crazy, and I'm just not even tripping on when people are getting just drinking with impunity, having a good time, and I mean. Today's 422, right? So I mean, like usually you can't even go by Golden Gate Park. It would be like one big cloud of weed, and I don't I don't even trip. I've made the mistake a bunch of times thinking I could just smoke weed, and that's a joke. And I also been down a road with prescription painkillers that was a nightmare. And so I'm very aware that this complete abstinence, man, and I'm just grateful that I don't have any desire or obsession to use any drugs. The best thing that's happened to me out of this whole thing is that I have a relationship with my creator that allows me to match the calamity with serenity, right? And I got all of you outstanding people that I've met.
Sean, you muted yourself, buddy. You muted yourself. You're still muted. Sean, can you hear me, buddy? You're still he's still talking away. Buddy, can you hear me? You're muted. I don't know what happened. I think he's trying to fix something. I think he pulled the cable out or something. We'll give him a second here. Let's see. I think we got it. Sean, can you hear me? Give me a thumbs up if you can hear me. Okay, you're still muted. You know that?
I just tried to call him, Eric,
Okay.
and it didn't go through. So I'm thinking he's having trouble with. See,
Yeah, here, Sean, I'm gonna send you an invite to
Technical difficulties.
yeah.
That's a pirate for you.
John,
Laid out nice and easy.
John, you see that? Can you hit that request to unmute? Uh-oh, not happening. All right. I think we may have come to the end on this share. Here, I'm gonna.
I'll log out and
Hello,
come back in.
Johnny.
Shawnee, do you want to log out and log
I
back
got
in?
him on the phone, Eric.
All right.
He's going to log out and try to log back in, Eric.
Roger that. Roger that.
Okay.
Yeah, we want to hear the last couple minutes there.
You're so welcome, honey. Love you. You're doing great.
Eric, he is killing it.
He's on fire, isn't he?
He's killing it.
Man,
Yeah. He's so
I'm
amazing.
hanging on every word, man.
Yeah, I love this guy. The
I do
transformation
too.
is
I
phenomenal.
do too.
Beautiful person.
Yeah, he really is.
Oh my God.
Hang in there, guys. We're gonna wait a couple minutes for him to come back, and then we're gonna wrap it up. Let him get his last few words in. Everybody getting something out of the share tonight? Give me a thumbs up.
Great.
Absolutely.
Really great.
You got
Really
thumbs
great.
up straight across the board. Yeah, he's fire. I'm gonna have to do some editing on this recording.
Never a dull moment with Zoom.
You got that right. That is the truth. Here he comes. Where's he at? Seany Boy. Is he in? There he is. Go ahead, baby. Finish her up.
Okay, wow. Sorry about that. I don't know what happened. The screen went black and went dark, and I could hear you, but I don't know what was going on. So
No worries.
sorry about that.
No worries.
Yeah, so I mean, basically, I'm done. I think I just, I just want to thank you, Eric, so much for asking me to speak, and yeah, all I could say is to the new people and people coming back. The miracle was to do this work and develop a relationship with God, and it's just changed everything for me. So, yeah, that's it, brother.
Awesome, brother. Awesome. Thank you so much, Sean. I appreciate you.